And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Sports Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday, March 28th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into all that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we are going to start off the show. We will talk about last night's games with the Sweet 16. We got 4 games tonight as well, so we will take a look at those, and I'll give you my picks for those games. But we had 4 games last night. We had both 1 seeds from last night move on. We also had a 3 seed win, and we also had in the other game as well, we had I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. A 2 seed. I'm sorry. I shouldn't draw a blank. Well, I drew a blank because I was in awe of the amount of threes that the 2 seed hit last night. So yeah, we'll get into all that in just a second. I apologize for that. Then in the second part of the show, we will get back to talking about Aaron Rodgers. Slight update, which something that we kind of already know, but the possibility of him retiring. It's either Steelers or bust, really, at this point. But latest reports is he could opt to just not play in 2025. So we will get into that. We will also talk about opening day yesterday. Some reactions from some of the games. Of course, was locked into the Yankees. Also the Mets because, that's the area that I'm from. But the Dodgers, they opened up at home last night, and they got the win. It was a pretty good game against the Tigers, so we'll get into that. We'll get into all that stuff and all the other scores around the league as well. Also want to talk about the Marlins, too, because I know I mentioned them yesterday, but I wanted to talk about them as well in their game and highlight that. So, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll talk about the Giants' quarterback situation once again, and who should they go with? Should they go with Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston? Now, we talked about this on Monday, how I felt, but we'll get into that conversation again and really dive into who they should start. And then in the final part of the show, we will continue our season overviews, and today we will be covering the Jacksonville Jaguars. So let's get into the first topic, which is now discussing the games from last night with the Sweet 16. And 2 of them were really good, and the other 2, well, the Florida-Maryland game was okay. Alabama and BYU got off to a good start, but then Alabama just was on cruise control the rest of the game, basically. The best game, though, was the Arkansas-Texas Tech game last night. Now, this was a very important game for my bracket because most people had Texas Tech moving on. I don't know what people had when it came to Arkansas, but I had Arkansas in my Elite 8. And it was just on the stance of John Calipari as their coach. And I was going to take Arkansas for as long as I could, and then, in the Elite 8, I had them losing. And Arkansas was leading for the vast majority of the game. Texas Tech led by 2 early on in the game, 5-3. And then it was Arkansas pretty much the whole game. And they were down 16, late in the second half. And they pulled off the comeback. Free throws down the stretch were crucial for Arkansas because Arkansas was up by 3. And they had a chance to at least make it a 2-possession game, and they weren't able to do that. And then Texas Tech was able to make a three to tie the game. And that kind of made the difference. Arkansas did have the lead in overtime a couple times, but it ended up being a loss for them. Texas Tech was able to pull off the comeback and win the game, despite good performances from Janelle Davis. He had 30 points for Arkansas. Carter Knox had 20 points, a freshman. 4 out of the 5 starters in double digits. And then for Texas Tech, 3 of their starters had 20-plus points. Toppin, Williams, and Anderson. And they were able to come back, and they advance to the Elite Eight. But it was a very entertaining game. You saw you saw Texas Tech starting to mount that comeback. I mean, I was hoping for my bracket that that they were going to be able to hold them off, but that was not the case. They like I said, the free throws at certain points that kind of made the difference. I mean, they were up 18-7 at one point in the first half. Then we went into the half and it was 38-31. Texas Tech made a three to make it a little bit closer, but yeah, I mean, they were up 59-45 at one point. Well, yeah, they were up 61-45 at one point, and yeah, with 4:44 left in the game, they were up 69-56, and then Texas Tech went on a 10-0 run, and yeah, they were able to come back. But it was a very entertaining game. I mean, I was on my train ride home from work last night, and I'm freaking out over here because I'm like, I need Arkansas to win because this really helps me in my bracket group. And you kind of had the sense once they got into overtime that Texas Tech was probably going to win, and that's what happened. Now, I was curious because Arkansas did have one more timeout left in the overtime period, so I was curious as to why they didn't use it because they were able to they had the last possession. So I don't know why. I mean, again, I'm not an expert, but maybe if you get to the other side of the court, you call a quick timeout, and then you try to draw up a play, a quick shot, because it was only a 2-point game. It's not like they had to go for 3, but I don't know. That was just me. So yeah, Texas Tech moves on. Duke and Arizona, that was a close game, but Duke kind of took control of that game after Cooper Flagg hit the buzzer beater 3, and he finished with 30 points. And Caleb Love for the Wildcats, he had 35 points last night. So again, he continues to play well against Duke. Duke ended up winning 100-93 in that game, and they move on. And 4 out of their 5 starters had double-digit points as well. But yeah, that was a close game pretty much throughout. But like I said, Duke kind of took control of that game going into the half. And then Florida and Maryland. Florida's just a better team. They win 87-71. They move on. Alabama and BYU. Alabama in this game, I mean, their offense was just unbelievable. Their 3-point shooting. They hit 25 threes in this game, which I think was a tournament record. They put up 62 points in the second half. They won 113-88. And this is in a college basketball game. And it's not like they went to overtime or anything. So, yeah, you look at the comparisons between the two teams. Alabama shot 49% from three. BYU shot 20%. They went 6 of 30. They just couldn't keep up. Free throws, they were both around the same with rebounds. But that was the difference in the game, is Alabama's three-point shooting. And Mark Sears, 34 points in this game. He had a very good day. Youngblood had 19 points. For BYU, their leading scorer was Richie Sanders. He had 25 points. But it wasn't enough. It was a good run for BYU, but Alabama's offense was just too potent for this BYU squad. And like I said, they just were making it rain from three. So that sets up a very good game on Saturday. Well, two very good games. You got Texas Tech and Florida, and then you have Alabama and Duke. I am really looking forward to that Alabama-Duke game. I think Alabama could definitely win that game, which makes me nervous because I have Duke winning the whole thing. And I would have had Alabama in my Final Four had they not been going up against Duke. But they definitely could still make it. They definitely can. I don't think they're going to do that against Duke, because Duke has a very good defense. It's a very good defensive team. But that's going to be a very good matchup. And then Texas Tech, I mean, they pulled off the comeback against Arkansas, but now, you're going up against a number 1 seed. So we'll see how it goes. And then tonight, you got Ole Miss and Michigan State. I got Michigan State winning. I have them in my championship game. I need them to win. Michigan and Auburn. Auburn's a 9-point favorite. Michigan State in the other game is a 4-point favorite. SEC matchup between Kentucky and Tennessee. Kentucky has beat Tennessee in the previous 2 meetings this season. Tennessee's a 4.5-point favorite, and then you got Purdue and Houston. Houston's an 8.5-point favorite. So let's see if there's drama in these games tonight. I will be locked into those. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the games from last night, about the games tonight, about some of the games on Saturday that are already listed. Let me know in the comments. So, yeah, the Arkansas loss was not great for the bracket, but still got my Final Four teams for the moment and still have, my winner. So hopefully, on Saturday, Duke does not lose, because then that's it for me. So when we come back from our next break, or our first break, we'll talk more about Aaron Rodgers. So the latest reports on that front, and I will give you my thoughts on that when we come back from our next break. So our first break. I keep saying next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.